Hi, good morning. How are we all? I am just sorting out YouTube at the moment because apparently there is an extraordinary meeting happening. I did get an email about it, but I didn't actually, read it. Okay, here we go. Let's see what's happening. Over on this channel.
We have apologies today from Councillor Tim Adams, Councillor Anthony Little, Councillor Ben Price, Councillor Victoria Holiday, Councillor Rob Colwell, Councillor Ian Mackey, Councillor Kay Mason-Billig, Councillor Callum Ringer, Councillor Barry Gravenell, Councillor Glenn Hurren, Councillor Helena Vysotsky, Councillor Paul Neal, Councillor Andrew Brown and Councillor Liz Withington.
Sorry, Chair, can you add Councillor Hunter Clark to that, please? Thank you.
Duly noted.
Thank you. We now move to agenda item 2, members to declare any interests. Do councillors have any interests that they may wish to declare? No. Thank you. Agenda item 3, appointment of Chief Executive Officer. I call upon the Leader of the Council to move the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm pleased to move this report by the Director for People. At this stage, I'd just like to thank all of the officers involved in the process, which was conducted very efficiently and with due process. And I would only just add here, because I assume they've read the report, that the administration is very content with the quality and strength of appointment that we made here. So I'm very happy to commend this report to full council.
Thank you. Have you a seconder? Thank you. Councillor Thomas. Thank you. Do you wish to speak now?
I reserve the right, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Watkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me start by saying that this is far more about the way the process had been conducted rather than about personalities. If this recommendation is approved and the appointment goes ahead, we can only hope that Dennis Baker succeeds in bringing the council together to face up to its challenges over the next 18 months and maybe beyond. It will be a massive task. And at this stage too, Mr. Chairman, I would like to place on record this group's thanks and appreciation for the services of Tom McCabe, who was our head of paid service for so many years. It should never have come to this.
About the new job.
I do recognise that there are situations where new administrations come to power, they want to act swiftly and make an early statement of intent. However, this is the most senior, most important job on this council. A £2 billion budget, over 900,000 residents relying on good, efficient, well-delivered local services. And yet, the process has been carried out with undue haste, with barely any time for proper scrutiny. Relying on shortcuts means less external assessment, fewer stakeholder interviews. There was just one in this particular case, and no proper psychometric 360 checks. There are governance risks involved. The administration has paid no more than lip service to constitutional niceties and has shown a dismissive approach towards the involvement of opposition parties on this council. There has also been a lack of due diligence during the process. For a post of this importance and magnitude, that is simply not good enough. It puts the council at risk, its staff, and the services that our people depend upon. And it also exposes the council to legal challenge, reputational damage and poor decision-making if issues emerge later that proper due diligence would have found. It has been widely reported that Mr Bacon has no background in local government. Surely that should have been a key requirement in this appointment. And I'm concerned that senior officers on this council might seriously question whether the prospective chief executive is able to fully grasp the scale and complexities of the issues like LGR, which will dominate the political landscape in the next few years. Mr Chairman, Council, this shouldn't be about party politics. The CEO that we appoint must serve all 84 councillors and all communities across Norfolk. A partisan process undermines that from day one. Getting the right leader for Norfolk is not something you do to meet a political deadline. You do it to get the best person. The Reform administration's handling of this whole process has been totally unacceptable and inexcusable, and that is why the Liberal Democrat group will be voting against the recommendation here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Webb.
Thank you, Chair. Like Councillor Watkins, we are not satisfied that the recruitment process was conducted in a way that befits the position, that it was robust or anywhere near adequate for an appointment of this seniority, responsibility and salary. I've also detailed my concerns in an email to the Monitoring Officer dated the 5th of August. The formation of the member appointment panel at the Employment Committee on the 30th of July was flawed from the outset. Our constitution requires the panel to be politically balanced and so should have been set with the number of members required to reflect the political balance of this council. Instead, a panel of 5 was contentiously chosen, meaning that as both the third and largest opposition groups have the same number of councillors, it would be impossible to obtain political balance. The administration unsurprisingly chose Grant Yarmouth first over the Conservatives as the 5th panel member. Political differences aside, anyone can see that that was neither a democratic nor constitutionally correct decision. The interview process was rushed, with interviews following 3 working days later on the 4th of August. The member appointment panel was not invited to take part in any of the shortlisting, and for transparency, I've requested sight of all applications, and the scoring grid used to shortlist have not been provided with those. There was no technical or psychometric testing, no stakeholder panels with partners or district council leaders, no presentations, simply a 30-minute online exchange with a leadership stakeholder panel and a 1-hour interview with a member appointment panel the next day. Some other less senior executive positions to this council have consisted of up to 7 different rounds of interviews. The post was only advertised on the council's website and LinkedIn, no other local government or public sector platforms. This is all highly unusual for the council's most senior and highly paid position, and contrary to the good practice laid out by the Local Government Association, an organisation this council pays to receive advice and guidance from. Before we commenced interviews on the 4th of August, the leader announced that a decision would be made that day and that he wouldn't consider re-advertising, which seemed quite an extraordinary statement considering that we were supposedly questioning each candidate for the first time. Only 3 of the 5 panel members' views were duly considered during the decision-making. Concerns raised by both Councillor Watkins and myself about experience and suitability and the feedback from the leadership stakeholder panel were all dismissed, to the extent that one particular comment in the feedback about Mr Bacon that Councillor Bick did not agree with was subsequently expunged from the record, something else I've objected to. The panel could not reach agreement at the end of interviews, so the Director for Peoples helpfully suggested a number of options to try to allay our concerns, including a meeting with the leadership stakeholder panel, a further conversation with Mr Bacon, or inviting the 2 most referred candidates back for a presentation, but all were again dismissed by the leader. We are, therefore, unable to be confident that the process has adequately or robustly assessed the competencies and experience required for the position of Chief Executive Officer of this Council, and we are compelled, therefore, to vote against this appointment. I'm also disappointed at Councillor Bick's stifling of this debate by denying my request to extend group leaders' speeches today to 5 minutes instead of 3. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
Councillor Weston.
It's Councillor Maxey.
Thank you, Chair.
From town.
Norfolk advertised for an exceptional chief executive, someone to lead a £2.3 billion organisation, someone offering strong governance, financial stewardship, a high-performing, accountable culture and strong commercial judgment. So let's look at the advert and compare it with Mr Bacon's record. Dennis Bacon spent nearly 11 years leading Apple Home Care. CQC's current published rating requires improvement. Safety requires improvement. And well-led, the category assessing leadership, management and governance, particularly important for this position, requires improvement. Before that, Apple Home Care was
Councillor,
Yes?
just one moment, please.
I just want to say to the Chamber that we need to be very, very careful. We're talking here about an individual who will be a member of staff. So I would advise councillors very strongly to steer away from any personal comments or historic comments about an individual. Thank you.
I accept that. These are all public record. There is no personal opinion, but I will take off anything from the record that you consider personal opinion. This is all public record. So the CQC had still found a continuing breach of governance even after that. And the reason that that's important to this is that we're talking about a position that's directly related to the experience that this candidate had for
Ben Weston, Division Head of State, and he's Labour.
And then there's the scale. So Apple Home Care's latest accounts report 15 employees. This council employs 8,000. And then I've got a real concern about the conflict of interest, as I see it. So Apple Home Care is a Norfolk County Council provider. After almost 11 years at the helm, Mr Bacon ceased being its director and controlling shareholder on the 30th of June. Control of Apple Home Care passed to John Bacon, which is a coincidental surname. I don't know whether they're related. I'm not saying that. What I do know from the public record is that Dennis and John Bacon remain in business together through their other companies. Now, I'm sure that exhaustive due diligence has been done and that the administration is very happy with that. And then my favourite coincidence of the whole thing is that Dennis Bacon relinquishes his controlling interest in a council-approved provider on the 30th of June. 9 days later, this council advertises for a new chief executive.
So he knew.
I bet Mr Bacon couldn't believe his luck.
Yeah.
For the person who will lead a £2.3 billion council, the application window was just, from my reckoning, 24 days. 24 days. But I'm sure the timing of the resignation is entirely coincidental. I'm sure every conflict has been examined, that the regulatory history caused no concern, and I'm sure that the Reform administration conducted the most rigorous recruitment process imaginable. Because after considering all of that, they concluded that Dennis Bacon wasn't merely suitable, he was the best person Norfolk could find. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The best.
Councillor Whedon.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'd just like to put on record the thanks to the officers for the diligent process that they've run and also for dealing with the many queries that have come their way subsequently, checking the Constitution, and everything that's sort of been attributed to that. And also on behalf of my group, I'd just like to welcome Dennis to Norfolk County Council and wish him every success.
Oh, so
Thank
you're
you.
on board.
Councillor Elmer.
Thank you very much, Chair. You'll be pleased to know I don't need more than 3 minutes to speak. I know the man who speaks longest at an emergency meeting is always the least popular in the room. So, like others, I want to just extend my thanks to Tom McCabe for his service over the years. And I won't repeat any of the points made by Councillor Webber or Councillor Watkins, but I do share their concerns about the process, in particular the stakeholder involvement, and, as I'm sure you would expect, the matter of political balance on the panel. That being said, I'm not going to express any views on the candidate one way or another. I actually think it would be quite refreshing to have some private business experience brought into the county council, and I can see why that may have merit.
But
as we weren't involved in the process, however, I can't make a positive or negative recommendation anyway on the candidate as they've been appointed. What I would question is this. I, like many others in this council, have fantastic respect for the monitoring officer and her capabilities, and I'm absolutely certain that she could have continued in the role of interim chief exec for longer if required. So I would welcome the administration's views on exactly why they felt this process had to continue at an accelerated rate and why it perhaps could not have taken another month, not years, just another month or so, to continue with a full and proper process.
Thank you. Councillor Kemp.
Thank you, and I, like many others, would like to place on record my thanks to Tom McCabe for his sterling service to this council over the past 13 years, not just as Chief Executive, but before that Executive Director for Highways. And we're in a situation where we're on the cliff edge as a council of LGR, and this is really no time for a novice or a newbie chief executive, however good they might be. But Tom McCabe had a wealth of knowledge, a depth of experience, and was an empathetic person who understood all the areas of Norfolk, all the services. It was as if every highway and byway he knew like the back of his hand, and this is what we need now. We have large services affecting vulnerable people, and we need that experience. It's not going to be easy for the new incumbent of the role. This is indeed an extraordinary meeting because it shouldn't have happened. We were in a position where we had the Chief Executive, Tom McCabe, in post in May, and then suddenly in June he resigned, and we shouldn't be in this position at all. We hope that there will be no detriment to Norfolk, but this is not the position we should have been in, and really Tom McCabe should come back. Thank you.
I don't think that will happen.
Councillor Roper.
Thank you, Chairman. I've got the benefit that I've sat in this position before when we've been appointing a chief executive to this council. I think there's only about half a dozen of us in the room. I've spot Councillor Clancy, I've spot Councillor Kemp, Councillor Watkins, Councillor Savage, who have been in a similar situation. I've been here when we've appointed 2 chief executives in the past, and I've never known a debate like this. Normally it is not a controversial appointment, and that is a sign of the robustness and the confidence that members have of the process that the council has engaged in. Where I'm sitting today, I listen carefully to Councillor Watkins and Councillor Webb, and I'm very concerned by the process that has been outlined to me. It does not bear any comparison to what we have had previously when appointing a chief executive, or indeed many of our senior officers. Indeed, what we're looking at here is a 1-hour interview with 5 people who are not unanimous. A 1-hour interview. That's what I would expect for probably the lowest grade of manager in this organisation to have, a 1-hour interview. And yet we have got appointing a chief executive for an organisation with a £2 billion budget on that basis. And that's unbelievable, really, that we're taking that level of shortcut. I was discussing this with a district colleague, and they said, actually, we put our waste operatives through a longer process in terms of interview than you have for your chief executive. And that surely cannot sit right. I can understand the desire for speed. I cannot understand the reason for all of these shortcuts. And I think it's very unfortunate and unfair on Mr. Bacon that many of us in the chamber are not feeling we have confidence in his appointment. It's not his fault. It's because the process has been so flawed. The only alternative explanation you can find to this is that some other discussions or decisions were being made outside of the Constitution that actually led to his employment, and perhaps not the panel that actually took place. I'll leave that there hanging. But either way, I cannot vote for this appointment today.
Thank you.
Not even a callback, not even a second interview.
Just a simple question, really. With your indulgence, could I just simply ask the monitoring officer, can the monitoring officer confirm
1-hour interview
that the process carried out was legal and proper?
Hey, Popstar.
Yes, I can confirm.
Thank you. Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Chair. I must say I concur with many of the concerns that have been expressed already. I'd just like to make an observation that Reform UK has made a lot of noise about reducing overblown salaries in the public sector and the need to save money. Yet here we are, with the sudden resignation of an experienced and well-respected chief executive, replaced with a candidate with little experience of working in the public sector, certainly little experience of managing a large public sector institution like the County Council. And has been already mentioned, with a questionable record of providing any kind of acceptable public service on a salary that was increased compared to the previous incumbent. Well, that's to £215,000. So this means the CEO goes from the 45th highest paid CEO in the country to the 24th, according to the Civ account, which I'm using as the reference
More
Civ
than the
account.
Prime Minister.
What's more, despite requests for openness and transparency about the terms on which the former CEO departed, the council, we still do not know what kind of leaving package, let's call it that, was agreed. Why is this not being made public?
Really?
Is this how reform are going about saving money in the public sector? We're going to be voting against this appointment.
Mm.
Thank you. I think that's all the questions we have. Councillor Thomas, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Chair. I was in the Employment Committee meeting, and I'd just like to say for anybody who didn't watch that meeting was properly conducted. Concerns were raised during that meeting by the former leader of the Conservative Party, Councillor Watkins, and those were dealt and those concerns were addressed by the monitoring officer in that meeting. They've been addressed by the monitoring officer here again today in response to Councillor Clancy's question. I'm aware there have been some complaints raised since then. They've been referenced today. So I won't say any more on that because I'm sure the outcome of that will all be in the public domain in the fullness of time. I think in terms of what Councillor Watkins said, you're very, I would say, the Council is very supportive of Tom McCabe and his tenure, but also highly critical of the process and the team that managed the process. But the officer team that managed the process is actually Tom McCabe's team. So I'm not quite sure how those two things can be rationalised. And also that the monitoring officer, who is now the previous monitoring officer, is acting as the chief executive and was also part of Tom McCabe's team and a long-standing member of that. So not really sure as to the rationale of those comments.
More about
in terms of Councillor Davis's comments, in terms of the salary uplift, I'm not completely sure, but perhaps the monitoring officer can confirm this, but I believe that is an annual uplift that happens automatically. But somebody more knowledgeable than me will confirm. We've got a highly credible, experienced candidate, and I fully support voting for this candidate. Thank you.
That he bleeds
Councillor Dick, would you like to sum up? Oh, Caroline.
Personal experience.
Yes, I can confirm, Councillor Thomas, that it's an uplift.
Care homes agencies always cost twice as much.
Thank you, Councillor Pick.
And you have to justify
Thank you, Chairman. The issue of psychometric tests has been mentioned once or twice. I'm, as leader, happy to consider introducing those for any councillor that may think they need them. Councillor Roper, Councillor Watkins, you both referred to a budget of £2 billion. That, I'm afraid, gives away your complete disrespect for taxpayers' money and the way it's spent. The number is £300 million higher than that. If you're going to quote numbers, get them accurate, okay? There was a suggestion that the candidate didn't have any background in local government.
$5 million comes to mind.
That's not true. He had considerable experience dealing both with this council and with the NHS. I am absolutely convinced we got the best person. But keep in mind that 3/4 of the shortlist were people from the public sector. And I'm not going to respond to the personal remarks made by Councillor Weston, other than to say I think they're unworthy. And I think it's a shame that he chose to make those remarks in this public place with Norfolk residents watching on. I commend this report to full council, and it has been seconded. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. We'll now move to the vote, please.
Come on, shut up on screen. Look at that, look, green, green, green. Green again. Yeah. It's going to be voted through because there's more reform and first than there is anybody else.
Votes for 45, abstentions 5, against 18. That's carried. Thank you.
There you go.
That's the end of the business as far as I can see. Thank you very much. Meeting closed.
Yeah, that lot. Amazing. Right. I'm going to leave that, and I'll catch you all later. Cheerio for now.